Alright, so today we're going to put on some MAC valves and wire the wastegate pressure sensor. So we go into the tune here. This is for the Haltech Rebel LS. And if we go under right here, you'll see this engine function, boost control, and then wiring. You'll see the boost increase solenoid uses DPO1. The boost decrease solenoid uses DPO2. Now, on this right here, you'll see this is your spare in-cabin output pinout. So this is a pulsated ground. It's going to come off the DPO1 and the DPO2. And then the other side is going to need a switch 12 volt. There's two wires. So for our increase solenoid, we're going to run one side of the solenoid, it don't matter which, to DPO1 for our increase solenoid. This is the solenoid where the onboard air or the CO2 is going to go into initially. So DPO1 on one side, and then we're going to use, wrong one, switch 12 volt on this connector for our 12 volts, because this is these DPOs are pulsated ground. We're going to hook the tack up later also. And then our decrease solenoid is going to use DPO2. That's the one that will vent the atmosphere on one side. So we're going to run one side, there's two wires, we'll run one side to DPO2, and then we'll run the 12 volt switch to the other side of both of them. DPO1 on the increase, DPO2 on the decrease. Now, we also would have to wire in our wastegate pressure sensor. So if we go up here to sensors, wastegate pressure, wiring, you'll see that one uses AVI2. Now the wastegate pressure sensor is a three-prong sensor, and it needs a 5 volt reference source, and it needs a ground, and it needs this AVI2. So here we have that. This is the inputs pinout. We're going to use pin B, which is this sensor ground for the ground, and then we're going to use C for our 5 volt reference, and then it goes, the reference wire is the AVI2, like we've seen up here, right there. Now, how do those go into the connector? I had no idea, but we used the low dollar sensors, and they had some directions on their website. So here is looking at the connector itself. So in pin 2 would be the 5 volt reference, and then the pin 1 would be the ground, and then the pin 3 would be our signal wire, which is our AVI2. So let's go outside and start wiring stuff up. All right, there's our wastegate pressure sensor. It's a 3-prong plug. That one's going to be the hardest to do because you got to run a bunch of wire. I may have to go get some wire. It looks like that's 18 to 22 gauge wire. But in your Haltech Rebel, it'll come with a couple of extra 3-prong connectors. That's seen right there. It's got the pieces that go up in them, the weather piece, all that. There's 2 of them. So let's go ahead and wire that first. So I'm just routing some wire. Just to get an idea of what length I need, because that's going to come all the way around. We're going to use that wire loom on them. It's going to come all the way around. It's going to go through the dash, and then it has to go to those connectors right there. So just get an idea of what length wire we need. So we're going to use this for red and white. We'll use the red for the 5 volt, and we'll use the white for the reference wire, and then we'll use this it's like brown for the ground, Alright, so we go ahead and put this weather strip piece on. Then we'll go ahead and strip this. And this piece is set in there just like that. The strip part will go on that part. And then the wire piece goes back here on these big loop things. And then we'll crush those down on the wire, and then we'll crush this down on the wire back here by my thumb. And just like that. Now this will only go in one way. The way it's slotted. See, it's got that slot piece on there. But it'll only go in one way. You stick it up in that connector and you push it up in there for the prong you want to use. Push it all the way up in the hole. And then pull back, and there's a little clip on these that'll grab it and lock. We can find it. Yeah, it's this clip right here by my thumb. Yeah, that'll clip and lock. And per our picture, the ground goes, that's what we're going to use for the ground, goes in this one right here. And also the fuel pressure gauge, it's a 3-prong sensor, and it's already wired in. Fuel pressure, we can reference this one too, because it's the same way. Ground top right, 5-volt top left, and then our signal at the bottom. But like I said, I pushed that in and then pulled back on it, push it all the way through, and then pull back on it, it'll lock. And then slide your weather stripping all the way up in the hole. Now we'll do the other two. After you get them all on, it comes with this plastic piece you put right there, and there's supposed to be a piece that goes on the back that helps hold these weather things down inside there, these rubber pieces. I don't see nothing in there. Whatever. But anyway, top right is the ground. That's that brownish black one. And then right here, our red is going to be our 5-volt wire. And then the white wire is going to be our reference wire, just like the picture shows right here. And that also matches what they had for the fuel pressure sensor 3-prong plug as well. So yeah, I know there's a piece that goes on this. I can't find it. There's a little lip there, so I put the wire loom up there and I zip tied it right to that lip that was there. Look on this one. See how it's got that lip there? I zip tied it right there. I'm also going to go through here and put some black tape, maybe every foot or so the wires can't jump out. Alright, I lied. I had these small zip ties, so I use these small zip ties instead, every foot or so. But black tape works too. Now I ran it through the firewall, and it's way too long because it's going to go to that connector, but I'd rather it be too long than too short, for sure. And we're going to use this connector, which we've already used for our trans brake and our bump. And those were SP1 and SP2, I think. I don't know, you might have to go back and look at the video on that. But these, from what I gather, the SPs, SPI or whatever it's called, we'll see here in a minute. But from what I gather, these can be activated through, these are inputs. Did I say outputs a while ago? They're inputs. But anyway, we got our bump and our trans brake here on the SPI, I believe they're called. And those, from what I gather, they can be triggered through a ground or a power. So I ran those to the trans brake, and then the bump, and then the other side of the button I ran to ground. And I just ran it up here, grounded it up there. We've had quite a few things grounded up there, and it worked just fine. Alright, going back to the trans brake, which I already made a video on that, but the SPIs, is the trans brake, SPI 1, SPI 2s for the bump. You can set these to activate through a power through a ground. So like if I push the button, I could have it to a 5 volt, a 12 volt if this was set to rising, but it's set to falling, so it would go through a ground. You hit this question mark, it says falling, voltage falls to ground to activate. So that's the way we've got it set. We got it running from SP1 to the button and then to the button to ground, and it's set on falling to ground, but you could do it with a 5 volt or 12 volt as well. But let's disconnect this connector and start wiring in this wastegate pressure sensor. Yeah, there we go. So the SPI1 and the SPI2 we used for the trans brake and the bump button. Is that better? Yeah. So now this time we're going to use this 5 volt orange, this sensor ground, and the AVI2. Now I guess we'll go ahead and we'll take this clip off that holds the wires in. It just clips on each side. Just pull it up, take it out. Kind of got to snake it out of the wires. Now we'll go ahead and put the weather strips on these 3, and then those little weather strip things, the white things, and then we'll go ahead and strip the wires back. These AV eyes, I guess, for those 3-prong sensors, they just read back that 5 volts from, you know, the sensor. I think the sensor's like 0.5 to 4.5. So you got the 5 volt going into it, the ground, and then it reads that sensor, lets that 5 volts come back through what we're using, AVI2, lets it come back through there, and then it just reads the volts of the sensor based on how much pressure's on it. But yeah, that's how those work. Alright, and just like we did with our wastegate pressure sensor, we stripped our wires back, put our weather thing on, and put our clips on. Now where do they go? When you're looking at these directions, I did go inside and mark all these to what we had them as. Alright. So our black, or brown, or whatever color that is, was our sensor ground. That's going to go in B. Now this is how you want to be looking at the plug when you do this per the direction. As you can see, we used E for our trans brake button and G for our bump. See, G and E, G and E. So our ground is going to go in B, which will be the second one from the bottom. Be right there. So we'll go ahead and stick that one in. B for our sensor ground. Alright, and there we go. B sensor ground, the second one from the bottom. And there it is. Right there. Now, we need our 5 volt reference, which we use the red, so that's the C. That's going to be the third one from the left, the middle one, and the bottom. So we'll go ahead and put that one in. And F will be the top right. Alright. We put our white reference wire in the top right one, which is F. F. AVI2. And then B should be the black one. Second from the right. Second from the right. It's really brown. And then red in C, which is our 5 volt. C, 5 volt reference. There we go. Wastegate pressure sensor is all hooked up. We can go ahead and plug that one back in because we don't need to use it no more for what we got. We're going to add a flex fuel sensor. Hopefully we got enough here, but I'm not sure what those are going to use yet. But as you can see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 DPOs left. We got one AVI left, and then 2 SPI left. But we want to do a flex fuel sensor, shifter, and then traction control. But let's wire in these increase and decrease solenoids. That one's going to go on the one that says output, which has the orange weather thing on it. Oh, and we clip that gray piece back on that we took off before. You got to kind of slide it in there, straddle the wires with the grooves, and then it just clips in on each side. Alright, so the one we was messing with was an inputs connector. It's a 10 pin. The outputs, it's an 8 pin. And it's this one right here. We're going to wire this one in the same way, because that's the way the connector is. You're looking at the face of the connector, right at the face of it. So both sides of the MAC valves on the increase and decrease need 12 volts. So we need to come out of A, which is going to be with this up top, which is going to be the bottom left. We need to come out of that split with 2 wires, and we're going to try to find a red for that. Now I took 1 red wire, I twisted them together, made 2 red wires. They're faded. That one looks yellow, but it's the same wire. It's just faded right there. This is all the same wire. But I use those little heat solder things. They got solder in the middle, and they heat wrap and solder it all at the same time. But if you get them too hot, the solder comes out a little. So we're gonna put this over it, and we're gonna melt that down on there as well. And that'll be our power coming out of the connector, and then to both of the MAC valves. And there we go. So professional. Yes, yes. Alright, so I elected to hang the MAC valves right there. So these wires, they're going to reach all by themselves. So we don't need to make this wire that long. So we'll go ahead and cut this one down and plug it in. Alright guys, here's what we got. Our output connector. We got the red that comes up and splits. Run to A. That's A per screen. A, which is our switch, 12 volts. So that splits and goes to each solenoid. Yep, this wire, this top wire. This wire, top solenoid, this wire, the bottom solenoid. Alright. And then pin B, DPO1, is our increase MAC valve. Pin B. So look at this. Pin B, that'll be that bottom middle, or not bottom, second from the left, which is this one. And that one should go to the top one where the air comes in at, and it does. And that leaves pin C, the decrease solenoid, and that one right here should go to the bottom solenoid that vents out the bottom. That's not a plug, that's a vent. There we go. That's pretty much it. Then we plug it into that outputs connector, and that part's done. If y'all look really close on these connectors, HGFE, yeah, HGFE, and then ABCD. They're marked on there, and they're marked on there as well. See, ABC. So when we plug it in, it should line up with ABC there. There we go, it's plugged in. ABC, ABC, just like that. And then we'll just run our push lock hose. And yeah, first time I've ever messed with any aftermarket ECMs or anything like that. So yeah, I couldn't find a lot of information on how to wire this stuff in, so thought I'd make a video of how I did it. I hope y'all liked it, and thanks for watching. Have a great day.